Hi, it's Alejandro for the Audio Brewers. And in this video, we're going to explore how we could approach a mix for Dolby Atmos using headphones and using traditional recordings in mono, stereo, as well as virtual instruments and some of our plugins so that we can glue everything together and make it work nicely. So I have loaded a multi-track that contains no effects, no inserts, they haven't been panned, everything is just as is. So we're going to do this mix from the very beginning. So it goes like this. Okay, so this is what we have here. All the tracks have been recorded in a studio. There are no virtual instruments except from the last track, which contains our Crescent library. In the Crescent library, there's not much going on. I have disabled the reverb, and there's only the sustained chord legato, nothing special. I have created a standard Atmos project, meaning that it contains a standard 712 bed and our 714 renderer using our renderer for Atmos. And since I'm using headphones, I could listen to this two different ways. The first way could be just to downmix this to 2.0 or to binaural, and then to route my left and right channels to my left and right ears. But the problem with doing this is that I wouldn't have control over the rotation of the signal. So while I'm mixing, I wouldn't be able to monitor what's going on behind me, above me, or by my sides. Everything will be static. So instead, what I do is I leave my renderer disconnected and I add a stereo track that goes to my headphones. And then I route my renderer track to a third order Ambisonics rotator. And this third order Ambisonics group track goes to the stereo output. So basically, I'm adding one more step in the decoding process just so that I can have access to Nuendo's Ambi decoder, and I can rotate my head to the left, to the right, and up and down. So rotating my head will sound like this. So pretty much these are the only two knobs that I need for monitoring my mix. This is the yaw knob, which rotates my head from left to right, from front to back. And then there's the pitch knob, which rotates my head from up to down. As you can hear right now, the signal is all directional because by default, every single track has been panned automatically to the front center. And finally, my Crescent track is the only one that so far is going to 7.1.2 because I am using my AB decoder that automatically adjusts to the width of my bed. So other than that, everything is going to the front center. My piano track is going to the front, left and right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to mix the drums. They are multiple tracks, so I'm going to group everything in one track. I'm just going to call it drums object. I call it drums object because although in the beginning this is going to go to my bed, I'm going to create an object with my drums so that they're independent. The good thing about Nuendo is that once you create a multi-channel object, you can shrink it, you can rotate it, and everything goes all together. So while in traditional music, this group will go in a stereo configuration, I'm going to create this group to match the Dolby Atmos settings, which is 7.1.4. I'm just going to move this object to the left. And now I'm going to organize and route every track of my drums to that group. Okay, so now everything is going to my drums object. So now I'm going to mix these drums, but instead of doing only left and right, I'm going to mix them three-dimensionally, occupying 100% of the size of my room. I'm doing this knowing that initially they're going to sound huge, but also knowing that after I convert this to an object, I can shrink them. So this allows me to have more control of where I place every piece of the drum. So my kick stays in the middle. My floor tom is gonna go all the way to the right, just like a normal floor tom. My toms are going to go a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. Let me just match a little bit better. Something like this. And then my snare is gonna go a little bit further to the left. And my overheads are going to go a bit more in front, but I'm going to also pan them above. I am hard panning them above because later when I shrink the drums, they're gonna come closer to my head. So let's listen to how this sounds now. Now, the other thing that I'm going to approach is the fact that the overheads are a monophonic channel, and I really, really want them to fill the space above me. So when I listen to them, they sound just in the middle. So to expand them a bit, I'll add a group track, which is going to be called Overheads Reverb. And let's just move it next to my overheads, just for keeping them neat. And now I'm going to send my overheads to this channel, pre-fader. And in this channel, I'm going to insert my AB reverb. And as you can see, I have sent this channel also to the drums object because I want it to be linked to the drums. So I'm going to find a sound for these overheads. I'm just going to equalize the reverb so that I get rid of these lows, and then I'm just going to expand them so that it just feels a little bit more the space. I'm going to lower the volume of the dry overheads, and I'm going to lower the dry of my send track, and I'm going to look for a sound for the cymbals. I'm gonna add some delay to my snare so that it sounds a bit more full. So what I'm going to do is create another group track. I'm going to call it snare delay. It's going to be a third order Ambisonics track, and it's gonna go to the drums object. I'm sending my snare to this track, pre-fader, and I'm going to insert AB delay to this track. The reason why I'm creating AB delay in third order and the reverb in first order is because AB reverb works in first order Ambisonics, whereas AB delay works up to third order Ambisonics, which gives much better resolution for the bounces. So let's lower the dry volume of the AB delay, and let's look for something that is discrete but kind of feel our rhythm a little better. Okay, so these are our drums. They're mixed. And now let's create an object with them. So I'm gonna go to my ADM and I will create an object from selected tracks, which is my drums object. And if I open my renderer, you can see that my objects have been taken for the drums. And now the drums are an object. So now I can work with their size. So the first thing I'm going to do is shrink them a little bit because right now they are occupying all my room. Okay, I shrunk them because I would like to have them a bit closer to the listener. And at the same time, I want to have a little bit more space for the master reverb that I'm going to add, which is our next step. I'll lower the volume of the overheads reverb a little bit more. And now I'm going to create a new group track, which is going to contain our master reverb. It's going to be a first order Ambisonics track, and it's going to be called Reverb. I'm going to insert AB Reverb here. And now, because my drums are the only thing that I have ready so far, I'm just going to create another send to this reverb. Pre-fader. And now this reverb is not going to go to my drums object, and instead is going to go to my standard bed. That way, the master reverb of my song resides on my standard bed. I lowered its dry volume, and I'm just going to find a reverb that is a little bit balanced, but it's not too overwhelming. Okay, this sounds all right so far. So let's just leave it for now, the way it is. And let's continue with our mix. Okay, so now I'll just hide my drums to save space. And let's move to the strings. So the strings are 3 violins plus crescent. As you saw before, crescent is a virtual instruments track. So the first thing I'm going to do is freeze it to save some resources. So I will create a new group track, which again is going to be the Dolby Atmos width, and I'm going to call it strings object. And my strings are gonna go there, and later I will create an object with this group track. So let's route our strings there. Okay, so let's go to crescent. For crescent, I had loaded my 180 degrees microphone position, which means that the instruments sound in a half moon formation in front of me, and this is how they will sound. So I will pan these cellos a little bit to the right so that I can make some space on the left for the 3 violins. Okay, so my violins are hard left, then diagonally to my left, and then in the center, but let's move it a little bit further from the center. Okay, so my violins now are heavy to the left, and my cellos are towards the right, so they blend nicely. And now let's just move this to the left. And let's create an object with our strings. So I'll go to the ADM again and create an object from selected tracks. And if you look at the renderer, you see that the strings objects have been taken right after the drums. And you can even see the objects in our 3-dimensional space. So now my strings and my drums together sound like this. And if I were to monitor that around me, all I had to do will be rotate my yaw. And now let's send the strings to our reverb group. Prefader. So now let's move to our next part, which will be our piano. Okay, so the first thing that I notice here is that the panning of the piano is backwards. So I'll invert it. Okay, now the panning is correct. So let's continue with our mix. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just send this piano to my reverb track. And I will create an object out of this piano. And now let's span this piano a bit to the right.
With your eyes, I can tell the light. Without you, I'm so blind. I am there, you stay with me.
And let's do the same with the guitar. Let's send it to our reverb. And let's pan it to the back. And let's also create an object with it. Okay, and now let's work in our voice. So I'll try and send my voice to my master reverb.
And he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes, I can tell the light.
So, I could send this voice to the master reverb, but the problem is I feel that the reverb here needs a little bit more strength so that the voice can embrace us. So I'll just create another dedicated reverb just for the voice, which is going to go to our bed. And instead of sending my voice to that reverb, I'm going to send it to the voice reverb, where I'm going to insert my AB reverb again.
And he gave me
Now I'm going to find a reverb that suits this voice. So for that, I will just solo the reverb.
boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes, I can tell the light. Without you, I'm so blind. I am there, you stay with me. I'm for real. Can you see
Okay, so this works nice. Now let's just mix them together.
And he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for.
And let's create an object with a voice. So I have guitar object, voice object, and piano object.
And he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes I can.
And this is how our mix sounds so far.
And he gave me boundless wings.
Now let's just have a listen to the whole segment and see how it works.
He came like a dream, and he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes I can tell the light. Without you, I'm so blind. I am begging, stay with me. I'm for real. Can you see? He came like a dream, and he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes I can tell the light. Without you, I'm so blind. I am begging, stay with me. I'm for real. Can you see?
Now, if I rotate this, it will sound like this.
He came like a dream, and he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes I can tell the light. Without you, I'm so blind. I am begging, stay with me. I'm for real. Can you see?
And more or less, this is the way I will continue to work with my mix. Much more could be done, like adding dynamic processors just to control a little bit the volume on the voices and everything, and have a little bit more of equalization going on. But for now, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what you can do, combining mono, stereo, Ambisonics tracks, and everything going to an Atmos mix so that you could monitor it with your stereo speakers. So if you found this video interesting, or perhaps if you have some questions, don't hesitate to just leave a comment below and I will do my best to respond. Thank you so much for watching.
He came like a dream, and he gave me boundless wings, singing just a song for kings. I offer you my love. With your eyes I can